I mean, and then, of course, the main message being what? What's the main message of Scripture?
God.
Very good. Starting with God is already God's love for humanity. And so creation, shepherding, or what's the word when you give guiding, redeeming, ultimately incarnation and resurrection of humanity. I mean, certainly that's the Christian, bottom line. But if you look at individual, where is the emphasis? So we know that care for the poor, care for the foreigner, care for the widows and orphans is used as essentially shorthand for those who don't have other means of support, and those who were often surreptitiously neglected.
I think Judy's audio is now working. I can't fix it. If she wants to get back on, go to me. I can't fix it.
Judy, did you hear that he thinks your audio is back on? If you want to go to meeting.
I'll go try.
Okay.
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 Call back in if it doesn't work.
All right.
So I did not bring in paper Bibles, mostly because I didn't want to be responsible for cleaning them, and I know a lot of you have electronic Bibles, or you can go get a paper Bible that is sanitary. For I would like everybody to come up with at least one Bible verse, and if you can just think of it off the top of your head, that's fine too.
All right. One Bible verse about
feeding the hungry, and then give us the citation.
Feeding the hungry.
Oh, here's a good one. Because you Google it.
Yep. Wait till David gets back.
Yeah.
Karen's got what?
Well, no, there's 25 of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just the top 25.
Top 25. And whenever they say that, it's really interesting to read those because one of my standard things, everybody's got a bias. Whatever I would put in my top 25 would reflect my bias, and so depending on who's publishing them, but a lot of those have significant overlap. So Karen, pick one off that list if you want to.
Well, I'll tell you what number one is. It's Matthew, of course.
Often.
Yeah. What else is new? 25. When the king will come, I have to keep, I got
scrolling,
yeah. Then the king will come, will say to those on his right, "Come, my Father has blessed you. Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you took me into your home. I needed clothes and you gave me something to wear. I was sick and you took care of me. I was in prison and you visited me." Then the people gave God's approval, and he will reply, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or see you thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you as a stranger and take us into our homes, or see you in need of clothes and give you something to wear? When did we see you when sick or in prison and visit you?" The king will answer, "I can guarantee this truth. Whatever you did for one of my brothers or sisters, no matter how unimportant they seem, you did it for me." Of course, that is God.
Okay, here I am.
Yay, we got Judy! So Judy,
Hooray!
the assignment we're doing is everybody is coming up with one Bible verse about feeding the hungry, because the overwhelming message of the Bible is about feeding the hungry, taking care of the poor, taking care of the oppressed and the ostracized, just overwhelmingly. And so Karen already took Matthew 25 34 through, what did you go up through 42, Karen?
Through 30, what did I do? Yeah, through 40.
Okay, so Karen already took Matthew 25.
It was the biggie.
I'm gonna take Luke 3:11.
Okay.
And he answers them, whoever has two tunics is to share with him who has none, and whoever has food is to do likewise.
Oh.
Okay, share your food. Luke 3, what verses?
3:11.
Okay.
Okay. David's doing it old school, Judy.
which is turning out to be really.
Well, and especially the Pew Bibles don't have great indices.
Well, yeah, there's not a topic in there.
The library Bibles, though, some of those do.
Yeah.
This is James 2:15 through 17.
Okay.
Suppose a brother or sister does not have any clothes or daily food, and one of you tells them, "Go in peace, stay warm and eat heartily." If you do not provide for their bodily needs, what good does it do? In the same way, faith by itself, if it does not prove itself with action, is dead.
Well, that's a good one.
Well, that fits right in with Karen's work ethic. But it is a good one because I'll pray for you. Besides, I believe in praying for people. Don't get me wrong. I believe in praying for people. If you tell people you're going to pray for them, though, then do it. Don't let it be a platitude. But yeah, if people are hungry, feed them. Okay. So that was you said James 2. Yeah, that was James 2. Okay. So David and Judy.
Did anyone do Isaiah 58?
Nope. Go ahead.
If you pour yourself out for the hungry, and satisfy the desire of the afflicted, then shall your light rise in the darkness, and your gloom be as the noonday.
Which verse is that in Isaiah 58?
Yeah, 58, 10.
10. Because 7 is a good one as well. I'll take Isaiah 58, 7. This is in the context of the calling, the calling of the Lord. Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house when you see the naked, to cover them, and not to hide yourself from your own flesh? Much of what comes up in the Gospels, of course, and Matthew in particular, is quoted from the Hebrew Scriptures, and Isaiah comes up a lot. So David, it's all about you now.
Of course it is.
Well, Isaiah, I was going to say, there's got to be something in Proverbs, don't you think?
There is. Do you want help, David, or do you want to?
I'm probably gonna need help, yeah.
How about Proverbs 25, 21?
Okay.
If we're looking at Proverbs.
All right.
And the Psalms pretty much cover everything. So you can always say, oh, I think there's something about that in the Psalms.
Well, yeah. Well, I like Proverbs. It's more concrete than existential. To me, Psalms are existential. They're just...
Proverbs can get weird, but it depends on where you are in it.
You said Proverbs 25?
Yeah.
I think, let's see, then I moved, yeah, I suggested 25, 21.
All right. Let me see.
Also Proverbs 29, 7.
28, 27?
Okay.
Yeah. 25, 21 is a good one.
kill them with kindness,
Yeah.
is the sentiment. But it's interesting because, you know, for as much as there's some scripture that we pay a lot of attention to, and while the Lutheran confessions say that all scripture is useful for teaching, it's not all equal, but there's sure some of it that we like to pay a lot more attention to. And the whole feed your enemies, love your enemies, you know, be kind to your enemy kind of thing, not always our favorites to deal with. But it does come, which is one of the things that I think is great about scripture that we don't highlight enough, is that it's not all nice. You know, it covers the full range of human experience and human emotion, and it's not all nice. Anybody got one that they came up with that you're just like, I really want to get this one in? Okay. I just, you know, I know you know, because you wouldn't be doing this ministry if you didn't think it was important, but for as much as churches, contemporary North American churches, are reimagining what it means to be church, you know, I think it's important for us to focus on, okay, Scripture calls us to particular ministries over and over and over again. Maybe they should be pretty central to what we do. So I'm not trying to convince you. I know I'm preaching to the choir. I think it's important to go back to Scripture for all that stuff. The next thing I wanted to do was to follow up. Did anybody have anything that came up after the training that we did that you were like, oh, I meant to ask this, or I wanted to talk about such and such, or yesterday such and such came in? By the way, if, Judy, you weren't on the phone when we said this, if we are going to talk about particular behaviors, we need to know ahead of time so that we can stop the stream, because Juneau's too small. Even if we don't identify by name, Juneau's too small for us not to know who we're talking about, and I don't want to risk, you know, talking about anybody publicly. So, but did anything come up?
Right.
Brett, actually pause, because I had one yesterday that
Okay.
just my attention was drawn to. We need to keep Judy coming in, but not,
Oh, that's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. I'm just gonna mute the stream.
okay?
Oh, that's
Maybe not in this forum then, right now.
Right, okay. But I think that I would like this meeting to be able to be a place where when people have particular circumstances that are difficult. I mean, there's a reason that groups that do social work and that do, what do you call it, team-oriented care, have discussions about particular cases. It's because, you know, you go through a situation, you deal with it the best you can, and sometimes you want to learn something from other people.
And normally we wouldn't stream these meetings, but this one was also going to be a training, and so we streamed the trainings.
Well, there's always going to be a piece of training, but anyway.
I had one thing that I was going to bring up, because I don't think any of the other people knew it, but, because I mean, you know, having been in the checkout, there was a gentleman from up north who was stuck in Juneau because of the ferry, and he couldn't get to Whittier, and then he was heading to the interior, and he's been coming in every week for quite a while. Well, the ferry left sometime this week, so he wasn't in, but, you know, I said, so is this the week? Because because I'd always ask him, I'm like, is this the week? No, I got another week. Is this the week? No, I got another week. But last Monday that was the week he was leaving, and we were just talking about all that he had been through in Juneau and what it was, and he said, it was just so nice getting to know you guys and everything, and I said, well, it's been great doing business with you, you know, and he laughed because, you know, it was the nicest interaction, because here was a gentleman who literally had, I mean, to be stuck in Juneau for as long as he was stuck in Juneau was a huge drain.
Yeah, well, he had to deal with the ferry problem and then had to deal with COVID-19 and.
Yeah, it was a huge drain on it, so, you know, we were able to help him with food. And I'm just I said, you know, I hope we see you again, but maybe definitely under different circumstances. And, you know, and it was nice to say goodbye to him, because I know we probably won't see him again, but, you know, it was just, we were able to help him out in a time when it had to have been horrible.
Which is great that we were there for him. It's also great to draw attention to when people are leaving, because that is one of the issues, I probably mentioned this in the training, that comes up again and again with people who are marginalized or on the street, is that there's not always somebody keeping track of them.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if we, by letting him know, also anybody who hears you talking to him about it knows, oh, we actually care about you as a neighbor. And there is somebody who will notice if you're not here. It matters, you know, and so, good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Are they opening the housing place over here near Costco's for them pretty soon?
The city's in talks right now with, I mean, everything's in talks. So the warming shelter is staying open till September 15th. You know, it's supposed to open up in the end of mid-November anyway. So we'll see what happens after that.
Is that
But
the second housing first?
Yes, housing.
But, okay, so.
They had some jobs advertised for it.
Oh, okay.
So the Glory Hall purchased property and is building a facility over, I don't know what the street address is, but it's behind.
Teal Street, it's next to the
Yeah,
Hall.
next to Teal Street. But,
But they haven't breaking ground, have they?
No, that's still 2 years away, probably a year and a half.
and then was it the city manager, somebody on KTEO this morning was talking about the city, you know, acquiring a facility to be a drop-in shelter. But, you know, they're talking about it. I'm not aware of anybody with any specifics.
Walmart's going cheap.
What, big bucks?
Well,
Yeah.
No, they're down to 6 million. It's assessed at 8 million, and they're down to 6 million.
well, I was working on that.
Yeah, that was one of Brad's item. The other thing is that the Juneau Youth Services, there's a grant to build as part of the Homeless Youth Coalition to acquire. It has to be an existing facility, not to build a facility, but they got a grant to build a youth shelter for additional youth space.
What are, I think, what are the numbers? Do we have numbers on the youth?
The numbers of homeless youth. So I can get more specific numbers. We didn't have, of course, the census. The last point in time survey was, what was it, 39 youth? Brad, do you remember what the?
No, I actually don't.
I was
Probably
gonna
have
say,
it somewhere on my computer.
did that count couch surfers?
That's the problem, is that determining who's counted. You know, whenever you look at any numbers, you want to say what were the parameters of this, because youth are considered when you're talking about youth shelter, not children, but it's usually 18 to 25 or 18 through 24 until you turn 25. And yeah, the couch surfers, those who are in and out of places, because a lot of people, you know, who are precariously housed are in and out of places. You know, somewhere in the neighborhood of, the last I heard, was like up to 30% of the homeless population are youth.
30%.
Up to, but I thought that the last count had it in the high 30s, early 40s, but I wouldn't, you know, commit to that.
Well, I noticed, and I've been talking to people, and so the last couple of weeks, people have talked about how, because, you know, they're going for clothes and everything, but it seemed like there was more kids moving back in with parents, kids and grandkids moving back in with parents because, you know, they don't have the job, and so they're moving in, which
may well be advantageous. I mean, it varies. Of course, it can lead to elder abuse, but it also can lead to better care of elders, because there are a lot of elders that living alone is not healthy for them. So it depends, it really depends on the, you know, household.
or like we have, you know, grandparents coming in to feed the grandkids, because,
Yeah,
you know.
because nobody can afford even if you can find childcare, you can't afford it.
Well, and that, you know, and that's what I think is gonna be really huge, is no child, I mean, I don't see childcare coming back anytime real soon.
They're already
That's-
open, some places are open already.
They are.
People to work.
Yes.
So many. It's already open.
Are they
But-
able to?
Yeah.
The kinds of procedures they have to follow would be so onerous.
Well, already in a lot of in order to be a licensed childcare facility, you know, there were already very strict requirements. One of the challenges is that a significant portion of childcare in Juneau is non-licensed.
Right.
And which is one of the things that what was the initiative that they were working on? The Juneau Economic Development
Right.
Council was working on, was trying to have universal licensed childcare, which included training for and certification of childcare workers, because, you know, there's a big difference between somebody taking care of some kids in their home and it being a licensed childcare facility. But yes, some are open, but I don't know anybody who has extra places for their kids. So yeah, all of this stuff is going on, and the numbers, you know, it depending on how you parse them, but a lot of those are available through the city.
Have you, I haven't talked to anybody out of Shepherd Valley, what's happening with their lunch program?
So and they really focused on their summer lunch program to the exclusion of focusing on having people return to the sanctuary for worship.
Right.
You know, it's like you only have so much time and energy, so they focus on getting the summer lunch program going. They have to have the kids in separate rooms, so different groups are in different rooms. Different people who do the preparation come in at are scheduled to come in at different times to use the kitchen. And right now while historically it was an average, I think, of about 60 kids a day. The last I asked Pastor Terry, they were averaging closer to 30, and she said they really don't have if it got up to 60, they would be out of luck in terms of trying to manage the capacity.
So their numbers are less, our numbers are.
And they're also doing it in shifts. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, and their numbers are less, and our numbers are slightly less. Not a lot, but they are less. So the question is there a need getting met? Because this is what I constantly look at. I mean, you know, we're open, but is there a need that's getting met elsewhere, or do we have people that are literally falling off, you know?
Yeah, and I don't know how we get that information. I know that a lot of the other food pantries are doing prepackaged delivery. I know, like, Polaris House is taking food to people, because Polaris House have this $2 lunch. They're gonna open, by the way, next week. but they're still gonna take food to people. I know that Shepherd of the Valley is bagging up food and taking it to people. I know that Douglas Methodist is bagging up food and taking it to people. My guess is that Chris at the food bank would have the best perspective, but then that doesn't count things like the Glory Hall, and the Glory Hall is preparing meals for the warming shelter. But what counts as a meal for the Glory Hall varies a great deal as well. And not that you can't rely on what people tell you, because, you know, but the Glory Hall is theoretically providing the meals for evening meal and for a morning meal for the warming shelter, plus a sack lunch to go. And then the Glory Hall also has to-go meals for people, I think at a certain time of day. Go ahead.
Can they plan ahead enough so that there's not leftovers, or do they just roll it over to the next day?
I don't know.
Because we've got this initiative that's coming on whereby, you know, COVID money, CARES money, would be spent by the city to the restaurants
Mm-hmm.
to provide food, which I'm trying to get a handle on it, but I don't know that anybody is quite going to have a handle on it. As far as how are they going to prepare the food, and what happens to the food that isn't served? In other words, do you need to let them know, I'm coming to pick up lunch on this, you know, this time or whatever? Or is it just they make a whole bunch of stuff and then what happens to it?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know any of the details of that. I'm now going to switch to my opinion. Let me make this absolutely qualify. This is my opinion, is that one of the biggest problems that I see among the coordination of food services in Juneau is accountability. Resurrection, to my estimation, has the highest level of accountability in terms of tracking what comes in,
Oh, yeah.
what goes out,
There's no question.
how many people it goes to, what we do with, I mean, like, all that information we have. You know, and again, I'm in my opinion mode, but one of the big conflicts for Brad was the auditing of resources and the refusal to audit. And I don't know what the Glory Hall does about their audits. I find it difficult to, I think there's some great stuff that the Glory Hall does, but I find it difficult to get consistent information about what's going on at the Glory Hall. And because I don't go down there personally, I can't speak from personal experience. And when I talk to people who are from the Glory Hall, the answer varies regularly. And again, this, you know, is coming from my bias of a conflict that Brad had with St. Vincent de Paul, is the accountability was not good, and they're running the warming shelter. So I don't know, I think it will be important to ask those questions, so that it becomes on the city, or who's the branch is through the city, right?
Yes.
The money's, well, I don't know that it's
Oh,
a
the CARES
grant,
money.
the CARES money,
Yeah, I
somehow
don't
it's
know.
passing through. Now, it might be that they're just saying, we're gonna give you a chunk of money. You're a restaurant, here's how much money you're gonna get, and make it work. I don't know.
Or it might be, I mean, the way they do it with Shepherd of the Valley, which also, by the way, has a very high level of accountability, is it's per meal. So they track how many meals they serve, and that's how many meals, and then, you know, it requires some practice and some prediction in terms of how many meals are going to be prepared, but they get funded for so many dollars for so many meals.
Well, I think about numbers, and I think, and with Shepherd of the Valley having good numbers, are there people not getting that? I don't know, I haven't heard.
Right, or they're hungry
that
people.
Yeah, I haven't heard
There are
other
a lot of
place.
faces I have not seen in recent weeks. A lot of faces I have
That's
not
true.
seen.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of people that you know, I haven't seen, but that doesn't mean they're not around. At the same time,
Right.
I haven't seen, the people I have seen that look like they're not getting fed, appear to me in mannerism to be using substances that typically lead to, non-eating.
Yeah.
But if people aren't coming out, if they're at home not getting fed, I don't know how we find that out.
I don't know. I think we're still getting the same number of people from Mountain View, the senior center. It seems like we're getting those people still on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah. And of course, the extra layer of hassle involved in using public transportation now has cut down on some people getting out.
There's a whole lot of reasons why it's not happening. And when it, initially, whenever you triage something, you say, okay, how do we deal with the immediate? But now that we're a few months out, are there people that are sitting in their house that have now gone through their ramen, gone through the 6 years worth of green beans that they had, or whatever,
Right.
And I don't know. That's not something that, while there has been plenty of conversation about it in the coordinated efforts, which is the Tuesday conference, concern about how do we make sure this happens. It's all, organizations are all it's piecemeal. I am putting together my own cheat sheet because I asked at the meeting, I'm like, I don't know who to refer people to right now. Who's open when? If somebody's new to town and needs services, or if somebody, they don't know which places are open. They don't know what hours they're open. They don't know if they're open walk-in. They don't know if they have to, is there anybody who's got that list? And everybody on the call was like, well, these are my hours, these are my hours, these are my hours, which was, that's all any of us knew. But the answer was, no, it's case by case. So I'm putting together my own cheat sheet.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna send it out to the group and say, if you can update me on information, but I'm not taking responsibility for any kind of, I just want it because I don't know who's open when.
Well, and does AA and NA, I mean, they're doing.
Virtual meetings.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of, but I also don't know because they're versus anonymous.
Except they used to have, I thought they used to have someone who came, because I mean, they used to have like a go-to person for all of AA and NA in town.
So there's,
without it that they had a coordinator or something.
they're all independent, but in order to be, I don't know if they call it chartered or registered or whatever, but sort of an official AA meeting, they have to meet certain parameters, including, somebody who will claim responsibility for the materials, for the collection, whatever. And then they do have regional boards. There is still a referral line, and they would probably be able to tell, who's notified them, whether or not they're open. But since a lot of AA groups meet in churches, for example, churches are all making their own decisions about who they're letting in and who they're not, and under what circumstances.
Have we offered Al-Anon to come in?
I have not reached out to anybody. I have been, quite honestly, waiting for them to reach out to me, or us, not me personally, but us, because it just hasn't been something that I wanted to tackle right now. I personally think that we are equipped to say, in a way that a lot of places aren't, here's our COVID-19 mitigation policy, you have to sign off here that you will abide by it.
Well, and the other thing too is they could use downstairs and easily
The Al-Anon group was never big enough that they couldn't get it here. They could,
Well, I mean, but then they wouldn't, they could be downstairs.
Sure.
Doors shut, not everywhere.
Right. So I would turn, I personally would, what I do, Karen, is go to you and say, this is what I think. And I think we're ahead of the ball, compared to, and this happens when I talk to the other churches, the other ELCA churches in Alaska too, because we've got all the documentation. All we have to do is say, this is what you have, because there are some churches that are declining to let other groups return to their facilities yet.
Well, not only do we have documentation, we've had it in place
Well,
for,
yeah.
since we were one, I think
Right,
we were probably the first
right.
church in Juneau
Right.
to reopen.
Makes it
Only because we were small, but we also had our documentation in, within 6 days of the governor saying you could open if you got your policies in place.
Well, not just the documentation, we had a plan.
We have a plan.
You
We
know,
have a plan, and but we can also have, we have a plan, we have it set up, but we can also have something that we say, you agree to this,
Well, yeah.
if you're gonna do it. Now, with the AAs, the only referral line that I'm aware of is that one referral line, and anytime I've tried to find out information from them, it's been hit and miss in terms of, because it's statewide,
Well,
in terms of how up to date it is.
with our, facility use agreement, there's a contact person for Al-Anon.
Right. I'm not saying it's not
Well, I'm
possible to
just
do, I
saying,
just haven't.
should we offer the facility back to Al-Anon?
I personally think it'd be great. I
I'm just,
have
you know,
other things
they
that
could-
I'm already behind on, so I don't wanna take it on.
No, but they could use downstairs
Sure.
and easily socially distance, and there's chairs down there, and
Oh, yeah.
Well, to be honest, they also, if they're in the in-between place like we are, you know, we could offer if they wanted to try to do both, you know, if they're willing to, you know, somehow, you know, if they want to, you know, make an offering to help pay for the support to do that.
Tag support, you're talking about it.
Yeah.
well,
If
yeah.
they needed-
Yeah.
If they-
in fact,
But the
Because I
thing,
imagine most places are like us, they are caught between the two things, right? They've been doing them online, and some people are willing to come in and some are not, which is a problem,
right.
like us.
They
like
have-
now.
I'll pull up a contact person and just see what we can offer them.
Sure.
Just because we're
And
more open than other people, and I don't know, maybe the need's not there, but I don't think that
sure
problems are
seems like it would be.
Well, I just don't think that problems are disappearing.
Right.
Right.
It's not like all of a sudden people's
It's
like,
like COVID came in and all our problems disappeared, that doesn't happen.
Right.
well, and there's a reason that people have, you know, these group support meetings, because you need group support. So that's not going away.
Right, and let me just mention one more thing on that topic. If they want to do a joint thing, or they do both, we can still set it up and then leave. I mean, and be available in the building, right? We could get them going, and so we can still have them practice.
And because the only anonymous group that we have in here is Al-Anon, and they have told me personally, they said, you know what, that's not for our group, it's a small group, and they said for our group, the anonymity is not a big deal. You know, that
But we
varies.
we still
Yeah.
can support that, you know, is to get it going, step out, and then come back in, or be available in the building to do that.
All right.
So the thing I wanted to bring up, one thing I wanted to mention is resources. Not only am I working on just my own personal cheat sheet, and I'll share it. I just don't want to be like pretending that I'm producing a directory. It's like, this is the information that I have. But I want to make sure that people know that if anybody ever asks for a Bible, yes. The answer is yes, I will give you a Bible. I will make sure that anybody who needs a Bible and wants a Bible can have a Bible. I keep my own personal collection of Bibles that people give me. Not give me as gifts, but give me to be giveaway Bibles, and so I make sure I always have a bin of giveaway Bibles in a variety of translations. And there's the church Bibles.
Right.
I'll give the church Bibles away, but the answer is always going to be yes on that. And if you want help getting a hold of one, you know, we also do have. We started with prayer from the ELW. We can go to that for prayer. There's Christ in Our Home things. They come out quarterly. We give them away to anybody who wants them. We always have plenty extras. Daily devotionals, but it's God's scripture and a reflection and a prayer. And there are people, I think Betty's been using this for decades. But if somebody wants prayer resources, if somebody asks you to pray for them, If you are comfortable praying for them, just do it. If you want resources, you can turn to this. You can always turn to the ELW, or the LBW has something similar in the front of it, but there are prayers available. Or you can always refer people to me. In terms of other resources, we have information on suicide prevention, on elder
Oh, I do
care.
need some more magnets.
Huh?
Do you have more magnets?
I think so. Let me go check
No, it's
after this.
later.
Well, right now, yeah.
Yeah.
So just that we do have stuff that sometimes people ask for. We do have tissue. And there's a lot of stuff that I won't put out because then it goes a lot faster. But we do have, somebody brought in masks this Sunday, I think it was Amanda, but a pack of like maybe 50 of the disposable masks. We do have a bunch of these that were purchased for Jack's funeral that we can give out, and we still have some shampoos. I have home care, healthcare kits like teeth and soap and whatever that I got from Front Street that we can give out. So if people ask for them, that stuff's available too. It's always worth checking. So I want to just everybody make sure you knew we have additional stuff if people ask for particulars. And then the last thing is that I would like to talk next month and so I'm just going to ask you if this is acceptable. Talk about, does this group want to be more formal in terms of the way it's organized? With, sort of certification, let's say food handling cards. Brad and I were talking about MOUs, Memorandum of Understandings, that if we talk about any individuals, and it's good practice to have all of us sign something that says we will keep people's information private within the group. We will talk about it within the group for the benefit of the person. But somebody has to be in charge of making that happen. Training, which I'll train till the cows come home. But do we want to have a training that gets checked off on somebody's sheet? Do we want to? Karen already does the reporting. David and Adam fill in the reporting and the summary. Bob was looking at the finances. Do we want to basically have this written up as a formal way of operating to the end of I think it's always important to have a plan so that if any of us disappear, let's say the rapture. I'm kidding about the rapture. Rapture is not actually scriptural, but if any of us disappear, that there's documentation about what's been going on. But the other thing is in applying for grants, and then in the accountability of reporting what we get from grants, being able to say, check everybody's trained in this, check everybody's this, or whatever. It has that benefit. It has the disadvantage of saying then we're now requiring certain. So anyway, I just wanted to put that as not to solve now, but if that's okay, I'll make that the primary agenda for next month.
Well, I was thinking that, not that we can't have that, but at some point in time, and I'm not quite sure when, but at some point in time, we're going to have a new normal. It's not going to go back to the way it was. And what is our new normal, and how are we going to deal with it? And the new normal is maybe we aren't going to have as many people. Okay, that's fine. What do we look at with regards to financial support, with regards to volunteers, with regard to, all sorts of things, even maybe hours?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think we are going to be in a new normal.
So I personally suspect that the combination of how organized do we want to be can easily take up 45 minutes of an hour session. And I think the new normal, even the first conversation about the new normal can easily take up 45 minutes of an hour session. And then, of course, we'll have to keep revising it. So that's an important one, too. I don't think we can tackle both of those in the same
No, I don't think so either.
meeting.
But that's just.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, and Karen, when Karen and I were talking on the way over here, we didn't intend to get in this session, but I think it also has to do with partly the vision of the church you guys are working on too, is what does this church look like? Because it fits into, I think it fits in also into the use of this space to maybe raise money, that I've been trying to figure out what to do, you know, as we've been, you know, doing all this. Because getting into the policies and things like that, and how we look at ourselves and who might be coming here and all that fits in also to these things and all that. I mean, it's a really much larger issue, because I don't ever see us get back to having, you know, 50 people in this sanctuary ever again. But we grow in different ways and all that. Again, a discussion of what the new normal is and all that. But you know, who uses the space, who comes in here, who makes the offerings, and how we pay for everything in the future is going to be just way different after time comes and all that. And part of it though is how we do the food pantry and where we get grant money and other monies for these things for that.
Right, and currently the food pantry's been running with y'all, you know, who have been doing it without the level of formality. It's not even constitutionally organized, but ultimately does report to the council, because that's how the church works. Yeah, I think both of those things are important specifically for food pantry, and they will feed into the conversation about. So is it okay if we do organizing next month and then we can talk about new normal after that? Is that an okay order? And then we'll still have prayer and, you know, that kind of stuff.
Oh God, we have the prayer stuff.
You have to. Okay, so the last.
Your prayer. Please make this equipment work.
Yeah, really.
God.
Judy, are you still with us?
I am.
Yay. Okay, so the last Tuesday in July is July 28th. That'll be our next meeting, and I think we've got a basic agenda. If that's good with everybody, then we can pray in closing. Let's do the. Yeah, sure.
Oh, real quick. After we did our training about the Norback,
Narcon.
We had the one person we thought we were gonna need it. Karen called and said, "Hey, go get it." So immediately we're starting to run upstairs, and then we're hoping, do we have our keys? Is the office open?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should have a first aid kit downstairs. Is that in it?
Well, yeah, did we get 2 of them? Because I haven't taken that new one down.
So yeah, we got 2 of them. They're now in pouches, not in pencil cases.
Yeah.
And when we first got them, Karen was going to take it down
And I haven't done that.
every
so
week.
apologize.
I think it'd be perfectly. There are 2 first aid kits in there. I haven't gone through to make sure that they're all full, but there are 2 first aid kits in there because Brad and I brought one, and there was one existing. And I don't see any reason not to keep one in the food pantry.
The only reason that we would remove it is if Family Promise comes in.
But even then, you could keep it in the food pantry locked cabinet, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the closet.
So now, while I'm here, I actually keep the office door closed but unlocked because I go in and out of there too often to worry about carrying my keys with me. But I don't think that's something that's a good long-term plan. Whereas I think keeping a first aid kit in the food pantry closet, locked closet, is good.
Which brings up, by the way, part of we should talk about training, is that we probably should get first aid training for all of us too.
So you can bring that up next month.
I know, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
just remember to bring that up because we definitely, very likely will have some point.
At some point.
I imagine most of us have had our
We
first
won't
aid
tell
card.
them
I know
what we
mine
did
has been.
We won't tell them what?
What we did 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
What happened 2 weeks ago? Oh, we're not,
She
we're
doesn't
not,
want to say, want to say.
Go off, not to go offline.
after, off camera, okay, one of the off-camera conversations, yeah, and, oh, by the way, Family Promise, I'll get the comment, I'm not ignoring you, Adam, but, Family Promise is doing their major, fundraiser this year, Night Without a Bed, and I guess Juneau is third in the country in terms of reaching its goal, which is 20,000, and they're up to like 18,300 something. So if you are willing to, the idea of Night Without a Bed is that what would you spend on, if you didn't have a home for the night, what would you spend on getting a place to stay and donating that to Family Promise? And so if you're interested in supporting Family Promise that way, they, as I said, third in the nation in terms of meeting the goal. Adam.
And I have noticed more now that people are asking if we could have the food pantry open twice a week like we used to.
Oh, I didn't know we used to do that.
We used to have it open on Thursday in the morning.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's gonna happen, it's getting the volunteers to operate it.
Well, like I said, it's just,
We'd like to, but
Yeah,
at some point in time, we're going to have to define our new normal.
Right. And there are people, I mean, different people communicate it different ways, and there are some people like, you should this and you should that. And you know, we're all like, well, yeah, we'd love to. If we had the food, the money, the volunteers for it, we would.
Right.
But I'm not
But
doing it, you
that
know.
might be worth a discussion of, you know, doing 2 hours on Monday, you know, and then cutting it off, and then, you know, putting the food back in the refrigerator, leaving everything else exactly the way it is, and then having just a couple people come in and just pull the food out of the refrigerator for 2 hours on Thursday, different times.
Right, yeah, I think all of that could be.
Thursday in the early morning, you know.
Yeah, it actually was mornings on Thursday.
Right, so that you, because that's always been a problem when we had, like, when we had the giveaway at the St. Vincent in the other area, is people can only come certain times to do things.
Right.
And so it wouldn't be having to get food, retrieve it, set it out, it would just be quickly reopening and just pull things out of the refrigerator.
Well,
just
and then,
like
but the other part to that is we've noticed that we literally have people come until 4:30 lately. The lull, there used to be a definite lull, and it seems like, what, it was about 3:30, right? And then we get a bunch of people get, so I don't know, see, that's why I keep thinking about what is going to be our new normal.
So that's it's going to be an important discussion to have. It's going to be important ongoing discussion. And it's also going to be important to say, well, how much setup and breakdown time is there for each? But yeah, I've got notes to discuss all those things.
And a
we're looking
customer
at.
survey, right? I mean, because we're probably at that point where we should pass out a customer survey, right? Patron survey and find out what our patrons would like to do that over a month and get them to fill out what hours would be better for them and what would they like to see more of.
So I've got that on the list. I don't know if I'm expressing well. We will talk about this next time.
But as long as we brainstorm, we might not.
No, and I'm great for brainstorming, but it's 6:50, and so it's an hour from when we started. I want to make sure
Yeah,
that.
and some of us are staying for some camera practice.
We'll have to
So-
learn some things.
Oh yeah, no, it's all good stuff. Please stand as you're able. Let's socially distanced. Pray the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Thank you, Judy, especially for your endurance and patience.
Yes, it's technical.
Thank you.
But you helped me solve a problem on how to do these co-meetings with the streaming. I think I solved it, so that was great. Thank you for your patience.
All right.
No, we didn't need him for this. I guess he worked.
Good night, Judy.
So if the yellow light's on, then it's off?
No, you gotta hold it down till
Yeah, you hold, it's a time delay switch.
Oh. Thank you, everybody.